So as I promised, we'll discuss. We're gonna go right into the gaming aspect. A lot of titles were announced. However, I did notice a certain theme that a lot of these companies, EA, Ubisoft, Bethesda, even some of the games that were announced at Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo, they're all mostly rehashes of, or like sequels, or in the case of Life is Strange, a prequel to everything, or a remake, or, we bumped up the graphics and now we're coming out with this. Or it's DLC for a game that came out and was ridiculously popular. So within that little sliver of all these like rehashed announcements and stuff, there were a couple of new properties announced. And in case you were wondering, no, I don't really consider sequels like Battlefront 2 or Call of Duty World War II or Destiny 2 as a new game. But apparently I hit the wrong banner, and we'll discuss the old games and this sort of rehashing. I thought I hit a different banner. Oh well. My bad. So anyway, let's start this over again. So, amongst the few tech announcements this at the E3 press conferences, a lot of games were announced, most of which were sequels, prequels, adding on to franchises and stuff. Some people thought that a lot of these announcements were cop-outs, that, why are these developers going crazy, announcing all these things? Why not just come out with new IPs or new gaming properties? Like, why is all of this, why are we getting a 2 next to everything, or a different version, or DLC, or add-ons, and this and that, and all of this kind of stuff? Really, it's just because a lot of these franchises are doing so well, and a lot of people are getting so much replayability out of it, that that they're going to keep making more, because we, the consumer, we, the people that are buying these games, keep buying these games. And they're starting to figure, and a lot of these companies have figured out what games are working and what games are just falling flat on their face. And either A, they'll come out with DLC, or B, they'll just say, all right, cool, we'll keep playing it, and, and stuff and such of that forth. So for all these games, I'm just going to pretty much go down from where, I'll start at Electronic Arts, EA. I'm not going to go through the entire press conference because, quite frankly, I'm not a fan of sports games. I'm terrible at them, and therefore I don't really play them all that often. My hat is off to all those guys and girls out there who play sports games. I know esports is huge with sports games. In fact, 2K Entertainment and the NBA kind of signed something together where now there's going to be an electronic NBA. Yes. That's going to be kind of cool. But for now, we are going to... we will definitely take a look at the games that are coming out for EA. And again, I'm going to kind of break this up, and I'm going to break this up into old games or sequels or anything like that, and then I'll discuss the new games. So if any of you are listening right now or watching the live stream or watching the VOD, the new games like Anthem, A Way Out, I have not forgotten about them. I will discuss them a little bit later, but for right now, I'm just going to stick to like the older stuff or like new games, but from older franchises, like EA's huge announcement. Actually, no, let me start with EA's kind of like meh. EA had a lot of, their press conference was okay. I didn't really understand why they kept breaking it up and getting new people out there and having people explain everything. It was actually the one conference, or no, Nintendo kind of did that. That and Nintendo kind of went the whole, like, here, we have someone coming out to explain what this game is, rather than letting the game explain for itself, or let the game like speak for itself with gameplay and stuff like that. Like for Forza, they had a professional race car driver and a professional stunt driver driving cars. It didn't even look like they were playing. By the time the cameras came back to them, and they were standing there, they had their hands like in a non kind of controller like setting. It was kind of like it was kind of like how it was kind of like, I didn't really play any of that. I'm just standing up here to say that I play something and that I drive really cool. I don't really know what to say about that. Like Forza, it looks like all the others, with the Xbox. Oh, that was at Microsoft. Anyway, Need for Speed Payback. Oh God, EA. Forza's not even EA. Wow. All right. Need for Speed Payback. I was a huge fan of the old Need for Speed games on PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. I played Hot Pursuit. I liked the mechanic of just driving down. I also liked it in Driver, where you were driving, and then if you broke the law, the cops would chase after you. That's why I'm having such a hard time in GTA RP, because I keep not breaking the law. I wish I were a kid again so I could just speed by through everything. Need for Speed Payback is kind of... Well, it's exactly like the Fast and the Furious. It's as if the devs sat there and said, you know what? We really want to make Fast and the Furious the video game. However, it's not going to sell on name alone, because we have so many driving games out there, like The Crew, like Forza, like Wipeout. What about Need for Speed? Why don't we just disguise Need for Speed as a Fast and the Furious gameplay? You never really get out of the car except for something like a quick time event, type action. And then for the rest of it, we'll just have the game, the game will be exactly like regular Need for Speed. Cool. Well, it turns out EA was able to recruit some of the guys and girls over that helped develop Burnout, and some of the mechanics from Burnout, like their crashes and the slow motion and stuff, were all implemented in this new Need for Speed game. So Need for Speed Payback, it's a Fast and the Furious style-themed game. If anyone's a fan of race car games, or if you really love the Fast and the Furious franchise, this game's definitely for you. It's got the thievery, it's got the racing, definitely has the cars and the babes and the stuff like that, again, from Fast and the Furious franchise. However, it seemed like, Need for Speed needed another thing to come out of, rather than trying to go up against those like Forza, like Dirt, and The Crew 2, and any of these other standard racing games and such. Need for Speed definitely needed something new in their wheelhouse in order to really come out with something special, and really wow driver people, rather than really get back with all of that. Another game that came out that was kind of a sequel for EA, and again, all of these are not They're not in any particular order. I did pick them out myself. I know EA had a lot of games announced. Microsoft had something like 42 games announced. 22 of them were console exclusives. I'm not going to go through all 42 games. I'll go through the games that I'm interested in or created somewhat of a buzz, whether it was positive or negative, and that's what I'll explain about. The longest game that EA actually spent their news conference on was Star Wars Battlefront 2. Star Wars Battlefront came out in 2015 alongside Star Wars Episode 8, Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Battlefront 2 will come out next to Episode 8, The Last Jedi. That being said, Star Wars Battlefront is great. It is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed myself playing that game. Every once in a while, I do bring it back out of Origin. And play it with play it by myself. I love the Star Wars lore. I actually feel like I'm in the battles. There were a couple of shortcomings with the game. To me, one of the big ones, and one of the big ones for a lot of people, was there was no no single player campaign mode. And Star Wars Battlefront 2 at Star Wars Celebration announced that this is what's going to be the driving force behind it. However, at E3, EA was all about Star Wars Battlefront's multiplayer. Now, the original Battlefront was all about multiplayer. So we know that they can do multiplayer well. All they needed to do was really expand. Give us star battles. Give us other maps. Tie it into the new movie that came out. However, they didn't really do any of that right away. And that kind of turned off a lot of players. There wasn't that many maps. There wasn't that many play modes. There were problems with the lobbies. There was a whole bunch of things. And there wasn't a single player to kind of distract people from the fact that it was only a multiplayer game. Star Wars Battlefront 2 looks to correct that by adding the special, the single-player mode with this whole new Death Trooper Navy SEALs team, and connecting Star Wars Episode 6, The Return of the Jedi, with Episode 7, The Force Awakens. They didn't show a lick of footage publicly of the single-player campaign mode. However, people that are at E3, writers from IGN and Kotaku and GameSpot, they have all played a little bit of the single-player at E3. And from what they're saying, it's amazing. For right now. They only played 10 minutes of it. Now, I don't know how long I don't know exactly how long the single player is. I've heard rumors that it is on the shorter side because they're really trying to push the multiplayer along with the single player. I hope it's not. I hope it's a bit open world and not just a linear 2.5 to 3-4 hour game. Where it's just like, all right, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. I hope that there is something with decisions and all sorts of that kind of stuff to make the game. I don't want it to be completely open world, and I don't want it to have such a big map like DayZ or GTA 5. I want it to have, it's going to have different locations. They've already announced like 3 or 4 different planets. There are, there are definitely a good amount of of Star Wars aesthetics that are in Battlefront 2. Also, they announced that the DLC is all free. However, for multiplayer, however, there will be some things that you need to spend money on. From what I've heard people talking about, and people that were at E3, some streamers that went just for Star Wars or just for some other things, they did, they're using mostly something like microtransactions, so that you could get a crate and get cards and all sorts of that kind of stuff, in order to take care of, get new things that you really wanted to get. From the gameplay footage that we watched, and they showed about 10-15 minutes of it, they did a battle on Theed, which was the main city of Naboo. So it was exactly like the ending of Star Wars Episode 1. Battle droids against clone troopers. Darth Maul showed up. I've seen some people play Han Solo as the heroes, and also Rey from Star Wars Episode 7 and 8, and played by Daisy Ridley. She shows up as well, and you get to see her kind of go up against Darth Maul, which was really kind of funny, and it was really, really, it felt good to see Rey, in action, now that we know that she wields a lightsaber and all this stuff. I understand why they didn't want to make her a character just yet in Battlefront, because that would have been a huge spoiler that they would have given away had the game already come out. Along with Battlefront 2, I know there are some other Star Wars games that they're coming out with. However, nothing Star Wars was really announced at E3. I'm sure that now that the floor is open for the public to walk around and such, that they'll probably run into some of the smaller, like Visceral, smaller companies, some of the indie companies that are working on Star Wars games, and that hopefully maybe they'll have some information on those games, because we haven't seen anything other than the teaser that we saw at either Star Wars Celebration or even before at like a PAX or something like that. So Star Wars Battlefront 2, it looks solid. I definitely will be buying it. There is no season pass, thank God. So again, all the DLC is free. First of which will feature an Episode 8 pack with Finn, played by John Boyega, and Captain Phasma, played by Gwendolyn Christie. They will be the characters, and Kree, or Kree, the salt desert planet from the trailer in Episode 8 with the red sand and the crappy ships that like fell onto the sand, and the AT-ATs in the background. That planet will be playable as a DLC, and it'll be the first one. Not too sure if that's going to be a day one DLC or if it's going to be something they release after Episode 8, so we know the significance of Kree as a planet as a whole. Some other things EA came out with, they announced a new Battlefield 1 DLC with night maps. This whole Russia, it was all about Russia. It looked like Battlefield 1. I know a lot of people are still playing that game. I know a lot of people were excited. That there were a lot of cheers coming out of there, and it was a good time. That was pretty much EA as far as some of the returning titles that were known to me. The next conference was Microsoft, and I've already discussed the Xbox One X and the whole console wars, the new addition to the Xbox One family. So you could go back and watch it on the VOD, or listen to it, rewind and listen to it on the podcast. Microsoft, they decided to go the same route as PlayStation. Usually their press conferences, ran kind of like EA, where they had people come out and kind of explain what they're doing, and as gameplay's happening, they're explaining things and all that kind of stuff. And you know, it was an interesting way. It was an interesting way of doing it. It breaks it up a lot. It kind of breaks like the hype where someone comes out and just starts talking, and you're like, oh, great, you're talking. However, this year Microsoft decided to go the Sony route and just sit there and say, all right, here's our console. We're going to spend 5 minutes on it. Here's all the specs. Here's the guy reading off the specs. Here's a brand new Porsche that none of you in the audience can afford, except the only guy that could afford it is Phil Spencer, and he doesn't want it. Here's Forza. Here's 2 fake people. And ladies and gentlemen, because we have 4K now in the Xbox One X, here's some games that you're going to really enjoy. And then from there on in, with just 1 or 2 interruptions from Phil Spencer and from like 1 or 2 other people, it was game. And again, a lot of those games were rehashings or sequels, or it was on PC, but now it's a console exclusive and it's coming to Xbox. But now, but that's how it was. It was trailer after trailer after trailer. As soon as you were done, like, oh my God, that looked amazing, all of a sudden you were just like, it just flashed Xbox One exclusive or Xbox One Windows 10 exclusive. So like Microsoft came to play this year, and play they did. So one of the games that they announced was Black Desert Online. This game's been out for PC for a while. However, it looks like they're bringing it to the console, to Xbox. It is, to me, it looks a lot like Elder Scrolls. It looks like a different version of it. It's an MMO RPG. It looks, you know, if you're an Elder Scrolls fan, Black Desert, to me, it looks exactly the same, just different kinds of mechanics in different areas. Fantasy, kind of, you know, open world, crafting, you know, different missions, side missions, and this and that and whatnot. Black Desert's been online. It was pretty popular on PC. I do see a lot of streamers on it, and I know some of the more popular streamers were playing it every once in a while. However, it's you know, it's now coming to console, and I don't know if there's going to be cross-platform play. I hope so. I really feel as if something like that, needs to happen, where people, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, they all need to get their acts together and really just start making some of these games that are similar titles, that have these giant open worlds. They really should start thinking about collaborating, so that if you have an Xbox, you could play with someone on PlayStation. Not every title, but titles that warrant it. Something like Destiny, where that would do well, and something like Rocket League, where I know there's a lot of cross-platform, but that Xbox to PlayStation is just still, they're fighting each other on it. We'll get to more Rocket League in a little bit, but you know, if I have an Xbox One and my brother has a PlayStation 4, I want to play Elder Scrolls with him, or Destiny, or even a fighting game or something like that. You should have the capabilities to add each other's game by game. It's a game by game. It like, he can't add me to his PlayStation network, and I can't add him to my Xbox Live friends. But I do think it's something that they should start really thinking about. And I know it's really to push people to get the consoles. And I you know, I've been looking at the PS4 because my brother has a PS4 and he has Destiny. You know, a lot of friends at work, they have a PS4 as well as a PC. So I could play with them on a PC, but if I want to play someone like my brother, I have to get a PS4 in order to play Destiny with him, especially since Destiny's not even on PC. So that's just, you know. But anyway, back to the games. Another game that I'm not too familiar with, but it is worth mentioning is Crackdown 3. The franchise for Crackdown has been a Microsoft exclusive since its heyday. It is just, I mean, first off, they had Terry Crews helping out with the trailer and the announcement, and the game itself is just an over the top, like, you could blow things up. You have like Wonder Woman jumping high in the air type powers. They're like, your guy has a whole bunch of strength, and I'm sure there's a story mode in it and something like that. But it's one of those games where it's like, oh man, there's stuff blowing up. Hello, guy I know from Crit Camp who I didn't know streamed until recently. Hi, Crimson Wanderer. How are you, man? But, Crackdown 3, for people that have been playing Crackdown from, the original game and from the just okay, Crackdown 2, for people like that, it looked to me like the same old Crackdown. Something that looks like a lot of fun. However, I'm not sure if it looks like a lot of fun for myself to get into. Yeah, a lot of people are really into that Monster Hunter world. And I'll talk more about that game when I get to it. Yeah, I just never had that inkling to get it. And I mean, I'm a AAA whore, if you would. I love games that are AAA, or nowadays I love even indie games that seem AAA. Much like this next one, Players Unknown Battlegrounds, or PUBG. I won the game. I personally won this game watching someone's stream. Just entered a giveaway and I won the game. I've been watching the game. I know a lot of people are playing this game. A lot of streamers are playing it. And a lot of people off stream are playing it. The game is ridiculously fun. If you don't know what PUBG is, it is a battle royale. The lead developer, came from the likes of DayZ, from H1Z1. Hey, Aaron, what's up, man? And Arma. Helped develop all those games, had trade secrets under his sleeve, decided to leave, make this game, and this game is amazing. It is a bit resource heavy on the computers. In fact, I did read somewhere that if you have a single computer that you stream in game on, you might not be able to stream PUBG. So you can find me playing on it. You can add me on Steam, and we could play together. We'll play duos. I'm terrible at it. I have gotten in the top 10 every once in a while, only because I hide really well. But anyway, Players Unknown Battlegrounds is coming to Xbox One in 2017. So this year, Players Unknown is coming exclusively to Xbox One. So it is coming to console. However, it is coming exclusively to Xbox One. So now it'll be PC and Xbox One. I don't know if there's going to be cross-platform. I don't know if you could. However, because I won the first copy, I might buy the second copy for anyone who plays on Xbox One. And I have to say, the game is worth it. It is not $60, so... well, I mean, consoles will always have the disadvantage against PC people. Unless you have a keyboard and mouse for console. And there are devices out there that lets you play... console games on keyboard and mouse. Now, along with being announced with this announcement at the Microsoft press conference, at the PC gaming show, the head developer of Players Unknown came in and announced that they are working on animations for vaulting, for jumping out windows, for climbing onto fences and climbing onto things that allow people to climb onto. They're working on the weather scheme, so other than it just being raining, oh, cool! I'll host you after I'm done here. Other than it raining or being sunny out, who is that? Hawa? Ahawi3, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you very much for hitting that follow button. Anyway, sorry I couldn't read your name on the stream. I'm gonna have to change that. But anyway, the weather scheme now has changed. They're adding fog. They're adding dusk, and also today they announced. On Tuesday, they actually announced zombies will now be a factor in Players Unknown. Now, I played DayZ. I thought it was really enjoyable. I might actually re-download it again if you want to add me on Steam. Feel free to do so. We could play DayZ or play Battles Unknown, Players Unknown together. I don't mind it. DayZ has zombies, but it's open world survival where there's really the competitive thing is just to compete to survive. The Players Unknown is way more competitive. So I don't know how much the zombies are going to be a help or hinder. I think it's meant to really kind of push the game along and make it more exciting for people who play it like myself, who hide until the very end and then come out and start shooting people really poorly. Like I think I shot at a tree once thinking it was a person. It was a tree. It was a large tree. It was a tree that did not look like a person at all. So that was my thing. So that was Players Unknown. Their big announcements during the entire E3 conference, not just at Microsoft. As far as other games, we spoke about Crackdown. Dragon Ball Fighter Z is just it's Dragon Ball's version of like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. I have to say the graphics looked amazing. Now all the games that were announced at Microsoft were most likely in 4K or 1080-60 because they were trying to tout the amazingness of the quality of the Xbox One X. So the graphics for Dragon Ball Z was your old school anime style, the way that like the regular cartoon style that Dragon Ball Z was drawn in for the show, in Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter type fighting. Very fast paced. It looked like a lot of my friends were really interested in that game. And I could see why. And to me, it looked beautiful. Speaking of looking beautiful, the first game they announced when they went into this montage of amazing trailers was Metro Exodus. Now, I'm not too familiar with the Metro franchise. Excuse me. I'm not incredibly, couldn't even ask me what the titles were of the other Metros. If it was Metro 1, Metro 2, but I didn't see the trailer. I would say watch it. If someone could find the link, bio Aaron, if you could find the link to the Metro thing and put that in chat or whisper it to me and I'll put it in chat. The Metro trailer looked gorgeous. It was the first trailer they showed after Forza. It surprised everyone, and it made me want to buy it. It made me want to buy it right then. Like if it's on Steam right now, or if it's over if it's over, on Origins or Ubisoft or wherever I could get it, I will pre-order it now. It looked amazing. The detail in all of the crap that was on the floor, as the player was walking through an abandoned subway and saw a bus and saw all this just crap on the floor. It looked amazing. Now, again, not too familiar with the Metro franchise. However, this one is going to be open world, which I hear is huge for the Metro franchise, because I think the rest of it is just, there were some aspects where things could go in, but for the most part, you're on a linear path. This one, it's open world, and it's a sandbox, which it's going to be great. But this one is meant to be an open world, boom, going for it. So that was those were the some of the older games mentioned at Microsoft. Again, there were plenty of games. Again, there were 42 games announced at Microsoft's press conference. I didn't go over all 42 of them. In fact, I skipped some of them because some of them are new franchises, and I'll get to them in a second. But I want to keep going on with this. The next wonderful press conference was Bethesda. For all of you Fallout 4 or Fallout and Elder Scrolls fans, I'm sorry. Nothing new was really announced, except, I shouldn't say that. New games were announced. However, there was no new franchises announced. No new, there was nothing new. Everything was just, again, a rehash of older things that they did. Elder Scrolls and Fallout both have VR games coming out. Woo! Again, the Fallout 4 VR will be $60. Unless you apparently already own Fallout 4, then there might be a discount. Keyword is might. I don't know about the Elder Scrolls VR as well. I don't know about that. However, they did also announce, thank you, Aaron, thank you. They did also announce Elder Scrolls Skyrim on Switch. And I believe this was the first time the Nintendo Switch was announced pretty much all weekend. So it was... this was the first announcement for the Nintendo Switch all weekend. There were a lot of heavy rumors that this was getting out of it. However, some details also came out with it. You can attach your Link amiibo, Link from Zelda, and you could get the Zelda character, the Hyrule sword, shield, and all that kind of stuff. So you get a taste of Link in the Skyrim universe. They also announced that the online patch, the open world online patch for Elder Scrolls will have DLC, and the people are going crazy about that. For Fallout, it was Fallout 4 VR. You saw them holding a gun, you saw them crafting stuff. Nothing really exciting, nothing telling me that I should go get a VR headset and start doing this right away. I started playing Fallout 3 about 15-20 minutes into it. I was like, all right, maybe I'll come back to this, maybe I won't. Never really touched any of the other previous Fallouts. Never really... I debated getting Fallout 4, but I figured if I could get Fallout 3 for a cheaper price... I was told if you could get through 3, if you get through enough to enjoy it, then you'll enjoy 4. But I didn't, so I figured I won't. Kingdom Hearts 3 news will be out at D23. I saw that the trailer came out last week. It looks good. It looks good. I know my brother's really excited for it, and a couple of other my friends are excited for it too. Some more stuff from Bethesda. Dishonored 2 DLC came out. Megan Foster. The DLC is called Death of the Outsider. I didn't play Dishonored 2. I watched streamers on Twitch play it, and it looked like a great game. Definitely one of those, like, you could play it different ways and stuff like that. It looked very enjoyable. Looked like people who are Dishonored 2 fans or Dishonored fans will really like it. Another VR title that they announced was Doom VR. Doom VR was mostly for, it looked like for the multiplayer, and I'm not too sure if... give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. Doom VR, it looks as if it was mainly pushing their multiplayer, which looked like Quake, or this, like, Quake Champions. Super twitchy, super fast. There's teleportation and stuff all over it. There's all these, like, crazy, like, there's stuff going on all over the place. The new Doom came out sometime in 2016 with single player, but also this new multiplayer that was a lot like Quake. It was all over the place. A lot of people really enjoyed it. It was actually a cool, fresh take on Doom. It was Doom for the next gen, and it was really, really a lot of fun. So they're coming out with Doom VR, and it was just them touting out that we could do this and we could do the multiplayer aspect of it on there. Another, like, adding on to the game was Evil Within 2. Again, not familiar with the franchise other than the fact that it's a horror game. And this is just the sequel of it. We did get to see, hopefully, some gameplay. It does not look like a game for me. As I said before, I am not a horror fan whatsoever. So games like that, like, nope. Whole bunch of nope. You'll never see me play Resident Evil 7. You'll definitely never see me play it on VR. Evil Within 2. Have fun with it. I think the closest thing I'll play to a horror game is Dead by Daylight or the new Friday the 13th game. That is the closest thing that you'll see me play with a horror game. I have enough of a hard time not jumping in Players Unknown, which is not a horror game. I have enough of a hard time playing that without jumping every time I get shot at. Which leaves me to believe that I would be terrible in a Warzone or Battlefront or anything like that. Should still try Friday the... I would. I heard that game is really, really good with friends. And I don't think a lot of my friends have it. I'd love to play Friday the 13th. I love Dead by Daylight. I download it every once in a while when I'm like, when I want to change it up a bit. It's a lot of fun. That mechanic of a game where it's many against one, and that one does have a slighter advantage of being the killer. You know, it's all there for it. Yeah, if I had PS4, I'd probably go for it. Friday the 13th, I watched the main person I watch on Twitch is Eddie Monster play it. He has a lot of fun with it, and it's a lot of fun to watch him play it. So definitely check him out to play it. Bethesda also announced Quake Champions. There's going to be $1 million competition. That is not a lot of money when it comes to esports. I mean, they're adding, the beta just came out. A lot of people liked it. If you're a Quake fan, you'll like it. If you're a Doom fan, you'll like that. Nearly same mechanics, different skins, different changes in the other little things like that. The big reveal for Bethesda was a new Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein is coming back. It looked pretty awesome. It looked as if we were in a Man in the High Castle type world where the U.S. lost the war in World War II and the Nazis took over. That's what it kind of looked like. And I mean, just like that TV show, it was a real interesting aesthetic. It was an interesting aesthetic to bring to a game. But yeah, definitely a game worth checking out. So after Bethesda, where there was just a lot of like rehashing again of old games, we started off with PC Gaming Show, which again I spoke about Intel, and they had some fun stuff with like some indie games. Age of Empire is getting a definitive, like remastered HD and all that kind of fun stuff. It looked really cool, and everyone was really interested in it. On Monday, they had the first of the two major franchise major press conferences was Ubisoft. And Ubisoft did not have Aisha Tyler. She was not hosting it this year. Rather, the developers at Ubisoft announced it. And it went off with a little bit of a rough start because you had most of their employees or most of the higher ups are French. So you had a French guy on stage talking to Miyamoto, the wonderful genius behind Mario, talking to each other on stage in an awkward, awkward setting almost. And they announced a game that I never thought I would have any sort of interest in, yet now I might go buy a Switch. Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Now, at the PC Gaming Show, they announced DLC for a game called XCOM 2, a turn-based strategic battle game where the player and the computer gets turns in moving their characters, moving and performing actions similar to that of board games, where you move each of your characters on your side, and then the computer takes their turn and do that, and you get actions with that. Not a style that I really like. I don't really like the whole turn-based things. That's why a lot of RPGs or like a lot of the earlier Final Fantasies was really not my cup of tea, because I just didn't like sitting there hitting like attack this guy, watching my guy attack it, then get attacked by them. I wasn't really a fan of that. The only time I was really a fan of that was Pokemon. For some reason, I don't know. Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle is the same exact fighting style as XCOM, with an open world exploration with Mario and the little Rabbids from the Ubisoft franchise. I gotta say, I may not be a fan of XCOM, But for some reason, watching those rabbits, maybe it was because it was the humor of the rabbits that themselves, but I was severely entertained by the gameplay I saw at that conference. And from there, I know I shouldn't really be talking about new games, but I had to. From there, other new games were announced afterwards, and we'll get to those in just in a few minutes. Along with some of their other announced titles, they came out with Far Cry 5, which is taking place in Montana with like a sort of a cult leader, is an underground cult leader is the bad guy in this whole thing. And you're going up against him and his cult. If you like Far Cry, you're going to like, this game. I mean, it looks like a typical Far Cry. It looks awesome. Open world, some of the stuff that they were doing in Far Cry 4 and some of the other titles from that franchise. It's the same exact thing. If you're a fan of it, you're a fan of it. If not, maybe this is the one that you'll buy. It's really up to them. Now, another one that came out was Assassin's Creed's Origins. Assassin's Creed took a year off after coming out with I forget which one it was, but it was the England one with Jacob and his sister, where one was a brawler, the other one was the silent assassin. Syndicate. Thank you, Crimson. Assassin's Creed Origins takes place in Egypt, of all places. It is meant to tell the story of how the Assassin's group came to be. You play the last of the Magi protectors. I haven't played since 3. In fact, 3 was the one that turned me off to the franchise because it was just so difficult. Then I read that it wasn't my fault that I'm a bad player. I read that they purposely made it difficult for reasons unknown. However, Origins looks to be a lot more interesting. It also looks like it has a little bit of an RPG play to it, in which you can take certain weapons, you could build out your weapons and build out your loadout so that you could be like so that you could play as a different type of assassin in one character. And that actually looks pretty interesting and a lot of fun. So we'll see how that goes. The gameplay I saw so far was beautiful. Ancient Egypt is a a super colorful time. Even though it's in the desert, for some reason it's just ridiculously a colorful time period for them to pick. There's also a lot of small spaces, and even though again they're out in the desert and whatnot, there's a lot of like small places and stuff like that where you could go in and whatchamacallit, hide and use his crawling and jumping and all that kind of stuff. So those were those two movies, those two franchise announcements. There was also one that I never heard of this game before. Never. Beyond Good and Evil 2. Now, so many people were ridiculously interested in this game and ridiculously hyped for this game. I am not one of those people. Now, the original Beyond Good and Evil came out in 2003. I have to take a look at footage to see if I know anything about that game, but I don't. And I just figured I'd mention it just in case there's any real gamer fans out there that are like, oh, you didn't mention Beyond Good and Evil 2, you dumbass. But I haven't heard of it. The trailer looked beautiful, like Metro. It looked gorgeous, and it was stunning. And I for one am super excited for them, and I hope I wish it well. And again, I'll look back at Beyond Beyond Good and Evil 1 or Beyond Good and Evil, if you just want to keep it singular, to make sure that it's all like it's a good game and stuff, and maybe it might be something I'm interested in. I definitely want to see more footage because I love the cinematics. It looked beautiful, it looked amazing. The details in the hair on the gorilla was just like each strand was just it was like taking perfect shampoo and going for it. Actually, I shouldn't. I'll say the final. I'll say final. The final major news conference that came out in the past couple days was Sony. No new equipment really came out. They were touting their PS4 VR. They didn't really see anything with the PS4 Pro. See you later, Bio. Yeah, definitely. I'll host you afterwards and check you out as I'm breaking down. You know, they had the PS4 Pro out for a year. It's cheaper than the Xbox One X. You know, they're still touting the same 4K capabilities as Xbox One X. They really didn't have anything tech to talk about. Other than my stream, the stream I was watching on PlayStation kept rebuffering. Press conference did not seem as amazing as it was last year. And I think part of it was because a lot of the titles they announced were sequels and remakes and re-rendering and bringing from the PS Vita to the PS4 franchise. So a lot of these games I'll probably jump through quickly. New Call of Duty game is coming out. It is World War II, so thank God no more jetpacks or stupid robots. It is now meat and flesh versus meat and flesh and bullets. Thank God. I could not stand how stupidly, overly futuristic Call of Duty was getting. It was to the point where it was like I just wanted to float in space to get away from these stupid ass like futuristic type things when it came from something like World War II or something like the current war that's going on. Yeah, the gameplay that they showed at the press conference did look more Call of Duty did look more like Battlefield and Battlefront, where it was a bit more fast, but fast action, not fast twitchy, where you just hold down where you just hold down and just spray an area and you kill a guy. It looks as if there's more mechanics and physics in it. That's what it was. The big reveal from Bungie actually happened 2 weeks ago. Destiny 2 is coming out. At Sony's thing, they solidified they solidified what they were doing, the dates. So as of right now, September 6th, Destiny 2 will come out for Xbox and PlayStation. October 24th is when it will come out for the PC. I don't know what I'm going to pre-order it for yet. I might get it on Xbox One and PC so I could play it first. I could play it early first and then switch over to the PC, like a lot of people are doing. There is a rumor, and this is not confirmed, that there will be cross-saving. Not cross-platform play, but cross-saving. So hopefully if I save the character in Xbox One, I could just sign into my character on PC and go on and go forth and have fun. Who knows? I don't know. It looks amazing. They said the load times are shorter. They'll have more content. I like Destiny. Destiny is a turn your brain off, shoot 'em up kind of thing. It's in between Battlefield, where the action is not so quick, and Call of Duty, where you do have to be a little bit more deliberate in your shooting. So it's like Battlefield where you have to be deliberate in your shooting. It's unlike Battlefield where the action is not so quick. I also like the open world concept where you could go around and learn the new world and stuff like that while you're still doing the main mission. I haven't done raids or the Crucible yet because I'm still kind of learning Destiny 1, but it's a solid game. I really do enjoy it. I like it. I will get the second one. I'm trying to blow through these because I know I have the new games to discuss. Skyrim VR, yes. Horizon Zero Dawn, the newest of the PlayStation major games that came out. Sorry about that. Horizon Zero Dawn, which was the latest AAA to come out for PlayStation 4. It's a PlayStation 4 exclusive. It's getting a DLC, which, you know, a lot of people enjoyed playing. I think it's the original game has a... I think the original game does have like a great aesthetic. It looked great, and I think it might be discounted right now for E3. Yeah, if I had a PS4, I definitely would get that. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy looks to be like a prequel or sequel to whatchamacallit, to or another iteration or something like that. To Uncharted, it features women now, which is great. I don't know the Uncharted series other than it's amazing, but that is another game that is being rehashed. Shadows of the Colossus is getting a remake. It's just getting updated with HD and 4K. Gran Turismo, I was talking about driving games before, with Need for Speed Payback, and Forza. It's just another, it's just an updated version of the same, Gran Turismo. It's just the cars look prettier. It's in 4K. All this cool other stuff. And that was all the older. Oh, and the big reveal, keep forgetting about it, was that of God of War. Never played the series. I played one of the like original God of War on PlayStation 2, I think. I played it a long time ago. I have not played any of the God of Wars since then. I might be playing God of War now. I might be getting the PlayStation 4 because of this game. This game and another game that I will discuss probably right after I discuss this. God of War looks amazing. It looks like they're also, instead of dealing with the Greek gods like they were in the past with Kratos, it looks as if he's now going up against Norse gods. So they could keep the story and the premise there. And it just looks amazing, and it looks as if the fight style has changed. It looks like they're adopting the similar fight style to that of Batman, the Arkham series, and another game is doing that, and I'll explain that in a second. Yeah, God of War looks amazing. It just looks incredible. The storyline looks to be badass. The fight style looks to be amazing. And it's a new storyline, so I hope someone like myself could get into the franchise. If I have to get a PS4, oh wait, I can't play any games because there's no backwards compatibility on the PS4s. PS4, Sony, just do the backwards compatibility. Yes, it makes up a small part of your business, but just do it, all right? Because that's where Microsoft is beating you. They now have backwards compatibility all the way back to the original Xbox. If I want to go back now and play Halo 1 on my Xbox One, I can. If I want to go back and play the original Crash Bandicoot from PlayStation, I cannot, unless I dig up a PlayStation and I don't know where my parents hid it. Backwards compatibility is not a money maker. However, it is a game changer. And I'm going to leave it at that.